Hello and welcome to the Bridge of Love. My name is Erin Cameron. I created this podcast to share with you my journey, the wisdom from life with my daughter, and all the messages I receive from her. I am passionate about helping others understand their nonverbal loved ones better, and also about providing a platform for their greater purpose here, which I believe is to bring us all into higher consciousness and, bring us there through our desire to understand and communicate with them. I teach my own method of nonverbal communication called Soul Speak, and you can find out more about that on my website, erincameron.org. I'm in the process of creating my first Soul Speak course. I say my first one because I think it's going to continue to evolve as I learn more and more. So for more about that, you can also sign up on my email list on my website, and you'll be notified as soon as it's released. And so today we are talking about healing. Healing has always been a really big topic in my life. My previous career was in biotechnology. And before that, I spent a number of years working in academic labs, thinking I might, someday go to medical school. And once my daughter Hadden was born, because she had medical issues, healing was always somewhere in my thoughts, my hopes, and my dreams. It seemed to me that healing was the very reason that medicine was uh, held in such high regard. It seemed to me that her doctors held the answers for why she was born the way she was and what her life might look like as she got older. And a number of weeks into her life, when I first began to realize that even the doctors didn't have those answers. They had symptoms, they had diagnoses, they had treatments, they had labels, they had categories. And so I was sort of left with these questions. The questions just still remained. The question of why and how. Um, those were still around. And I used to say that healing is why we're here. It was something that always came to me when I asked that bigger question. And this is previous to having Hadden and being a mom. It was always just something that I used to think was, it must be why we're here, or at least a very big part of it. And I remember when it came to me, I sort of knew even then that I didn't fully understand that answer. But I've always felt like everyone has something to heal on some level. And the way I saw it, Haddon's stuff was just much more obvious. And as her mom, I wanted nothing more than for her to heal. We didn't get her diagnosis until she was 6 years old. And I was totally okay with that. Most parents probably want a diagnosis so they can proceed with finding a cure or fixing the problem. Not me. I wanted to believe that there was nothing wrong, and the lack of a diagnosis somehow added to my hope of it really all just going away eventually. I think in reality that's kind of where I was in the early days with her, and for much of her younger years. So, as anyone with a known medical condition would probably agree, healing was the dream, and it probably still is. But what does it mean to heal? What are the necessary conditions, the necessary environment? What is it really that we're all chasing when it comes to healing? We live in this world where knowledge is power, where cures are based on decades, if not lifetimes of dedicated research, where awareness of the disease and all that has gone wrong is paramount to its eradication. So that's where the focus is, um, in sort of this world that we live in. So is healing the result of winning this battle, or is there something more going on here? Those are my questions and what I'd like to focus on today. And I do actually have a channeled message from Hadden that I will read at the end of the episode, just so you know that's coming up. So, a little bit of background. For the last few years, since I learned to more intentionally connect and communicate on a soul level with her, I also started receiving downloads of information. These come in more randomly, as I think it's because my default state is more open to a higher dimension of consciousness. At least this is how I think about it. A good example of this would be if I'm, out for a run and my mind is cleared by, all of that movement. And when I get home, I'll write everything that came in. I'll get things sort of come to me while I'm running. Clarity about things, and sometimes it turns into a full blown message when I get home, and I'll just type it all out. And other times, it's completely random, and these sort of downloads, and the message will just come in as a knowing. Like the answer to a question I've held is suddenly given to me. That's what it feels like. And this happened with the concept of healing. I had just pulled my car into my driveway one day when this came to me, and I typed it into the notes section of my phone. I still have it in there, and this is what I wrote. What is healing? To heal is to align with the perfection that is the truth of you, which exists only in the moment, and with the word only in parentheses. To heal is to align with the perfection that is the truth of you, which exists only in the moment. And I remember just sitting there in the feeling of knowing that, and it was just kind of cool. And as with all messages that I've channeled, over time it just sort of integrates into everything I've learned. And I just live with that knowing, and it kind of just gets added in to the things that I have a greater understanding about. And this results in sort of this other level, generally, of understanding that I can tap into anytime I feel like life needs a little more explanation. I just happen to have a life that I feel like needed a lot of explanation for a while, because I wasn't getting all of the answers from the medical field in general. And so this level of information has been a great resource to have. It's a higher perspective that's always there, and a lot of times it's even my primary source of information as I contemplate different things that are happening in my life. But even with this pretty well established connection to the higher perspective, I still have my human days, as I call them. And when I received this message from Hadden that I'm going to read to you, I was definitely having one of those days. It feels like some days I have one foot in the fifth dimension and one foot in the third dimension. Certainly this was one of those days, and if you're not familiar with dimensions of consciousness, essentially the third dimension is that of separation, of being separate from each other, separate from all that is everything being outside of you. And there's this feeling that you need something to be complete. There's kind of a general feel of needing or wanting. And it's kind of like, the third dimension is just the very most dense level of existence, I guess you could say, energetically. And the fifth dimension is the vibration of pure love. It's a more connected experience, which to me feels like oneness. And there's a lot more knowing in that space, and it's really beautiful. So for me, and I'm sure for all of us, this is definitely a journey, and there can be some back and forth. One foot in, one foot out. One foot in the fifth dimension, one foot in the third dimension. We all have our days. And looking back to this particular day when I got this message, this makes sense because I didn't know it at the time, but I was actually coming down with a cold. And I remember in the days before that, I had been spending a whole lot of energy, not taking time to center myself or slow down. So it did feel great to get, stop and get this message. But I did end up feeling the cold symptoms the next day. I was just thinking back on all of this and sort of the setup to it. I was definitely feeling, I guess, a little down, you could say. And at the same time, so this is a great example of a very human day for Erin. And at the same time, I was still able to receive a really amazing message and all of the energy that came along with it. And I have to say, as I did in the beginning of this episode, that the concept of healing is a big deal to me. It carries a lot of weight in my life with Hadden, as you can imagine. So it took some courage for me to ask her to really go there. And on that day, I just found myself sort of turning in and questioning, is healing something that's possible? And I could feel an answer coming in from Hadden. And so I sat down to channel her and receive the message. And I'm going to let her words speak for themselves, and let you, take them for what they mean to you. But I'll just say this before I read it. If you go back to my episode about the physical body, I believe it was the one just before this, episode 13. This is all related. And I think that's why healing sort of came up as the next topic that was on the surface for me. And how is this all related? Our consciousness is powerful. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings, and our emotions that are affected by these feelings, and by all of it. And remember that those are what we're aligning. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions. And also remember that we are consciousness. It's what we are. And everything in our world comes from the consciousness that we are. Even and especially the magic that occurs in our bodies and in the bodies of others, because we're all connected, right? Hadden has also told me in other messages that we're all in this together, that ascension is a collective experience and a collective effort. And that bringing through higher levels of consciousness helps all of us exist here on the earth as it's changing, evolving, up-leveling in terms of the levels of consciousness that are available to all of us. And I don't know if you remember, in the first message I channeled from Hadden in the podcast, one of the very first episodes, she said that the vibration, that in the vibration of love, all things are possible. And I remember that moment because I just found that to be really beautiful. And sometimes when the messages come through, there is just such a vibration of truth in this stuff. And when it comes through, you do feel that all things are possible when you're in that vibration, and I was. And the way I perceive this is that healing is not something that we need to figure out. We just create the environment, and that environment is a state of consciousness. The fifth dimension, pure love, heaven on earth, whatever you'd like to identify the fifth dimension as. This is, it's what the bridge of love is connecting these two worlds, heaven and earth, right? And higher levels of consciousness with being here physically, in a body, on the planet, having a fantastic time, right? And when I get to that dimension of consciousness, when I get there, I only see the perfection of my daughter and of kids like her. I see more clearly that she is fulfilling a really beautiful purpose by being able to exist in a fully connected state of consciousness at all times. I also feel the unlimited possibilities that exist in the higher dimensions of consciousness that she's connected to. I invite you to open to this perspective and to the powerful energy in this message. I get more from it every time I read it, and it's why I'm sharing it with you. It felt powerful when I brought it through, and it certainly felt like right away something that wanted and needed to be shared. So also, you might find it helpful to take this in with your eyes closed. So if that feels good to you, go for it. I vote for that. And with that, here's what Hadden said. And just a side note, I received this message on January 17th of this year. So really just a little under a few weeks ago. Okay. So here's what she says about healing. Healing. You asked about healing, and it is about how you define the word. So much in your reality is about how you define it. And behind those definitions are stories of what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. Definitions are powerful. Let go of them and feel the vibration of the word. The vibration of healing moves through you now. Every word has a divine root. You can take these words back to the truth of you, of all things. To heal is to align, more specifically, to realign. We come from full alignment with Source, and we choose. We choose our experiences here, and they serve to evolve us and all, us and the all. Evolution occurs through us. Everything is in your perspective. When you perceive me in the physical, put too much focus there, or a lot of focus there, you are only perceiving one part of me. We are all so much more than this. And you know, because you knew and have always known this part of me. Even when the physical part of me was just coming into being, through you, and within you. You knew me energetically. You met me energetically. You bonded with me energetically. This energy flows through my physical being and yours, now as we are connected. It is powerful. It is from higher dimensions, and it is highly connected to those dimensions, which increases its power. As you have also become aware through feeling me in channel, we are all this energy. It condenses itself into form, the highest of which is light. It then, upon our intention, forms our bodies and our human existence and all that we experience within it. And as we develop human senses and interact with one another, we learn about our human selves and forget the higher part of us. I never forgot. I have experienced myself in my fullness since I was born and before. In this way, there is nothing to heal, nothing to change, nothing that went wrong. Remember, everything is in your perception. I am perfect. I am healed. Whether you connect with this truth is dependent upon your dimension of consciousness. And it is why I have said to align how you see me with my truth. Your power to do this is love. There is nothing to figure out, nothing to change, nothing to fix. If there are things that I need, I will bring them into my experience. Similar to how you operate in the higher realms, from the higher realms, through your soul. So you see, when you truly feel into the vibration of a word, such as healing, you can feel its truth. Healing is like the pathway to the dimension which I already exist within and from. The dimensions which I am already connected into. And in this way, the healing is for you. But even you don't need healing. Consciousness is everything. Allow your consciousness to guide you into the truth of all things, all people, and what we are truly doing here. Live from that place where you are fully aligned. All parts of you, harmonizing, existing as one. Live from this consciousness that is you. That is why we are here. When you live from this space, you live more closely to the truth of me, more closely to my experience of this life. Welcome. I have been waiting. The love you have for me and the love you have for yourself brought you here. And from here, there is nowhere to go. Nowhere to go but up, as they say. Up in vibration, up in frequency, up into the truth that is you, that is all of you, and source, where you become one, and you are it all. Pure light, pure love. And all of this is chosen by you, within you. I love you. Powerful, powerful being. Yeah, I would agree. Powerful stuff. So, yeah, we are powerful. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, I get more out of it every time I read it. There's a lot happening there. I will also put that on my blog on my website. So, thanks everyone for tuning in today. I do appreciate you all so very much and love sharing these messages and this wisdom with you. Please share this episode with anyone you might think might benefit from it. And until next time, I am sending you so much love.